You know, staying healthy can be a challenge, but I think that each and every one of us can make a few changes or implement a few different tactics that can make the world of difference. Living a healthy lifestyle looks different from each and every person. And the first tip I want to give to you is to understand that your journey and your role or the way that you handle things may look very different from somebody else. I've had a health scare, and a health scare means something different from each person. Everybody has their own definition. It can be for one person, it can be a sinus infection. For the next person, it can be as extreme as cancer. And so for you, you know what your limit and your toleration is, or what you consider a health scare. But I have had my own journey. But one of the things I had to learn, that I had to live my life a little bit different from what everybody thinks is normal. I truly believe that even when you don't know it, or when you choose to, when I say you don't know it, sometimes God will put restraints on your life that looks very weird to the outside world. Things that you can't do, or you can't eat, or you can't participate in, that it looks normal for somebody else to do. Many times we don't see those restraints until we fully commit ourselves to God. But sometimes for some of us, God makes those changes early on in our life so he can spare our lives, right? So he can extend our life, that we will have longevity. And so for me, a lot of things that I do in my life looks very different to, in my opinion, to a lot of people, or what most people do. But listen, I'm not trying to be like most people. I'm just trying to be myself. And so one of the things that I had to learn to do is really understand that what I need specifically for me looks very, very different. And I have to be okay with that. And I have shared in previous videos about, like, say for instance, for sleep. Well, it's only 24 hours in a day. I automatically wipe out 10 hours of that day for sleep. If the good Lord wakes me up at 8 or 9, or if I need that full 10, that has already been subtracted from my schedule. And so for some people, they will say that's too much sleep. For some people, they will say, how do you do that? Well, one of the health scares I'm talking about is where God gave me that restraint, and that completely changed my life and my health. I think if I would have continued on in the way that I was going, I would have died prematurely. Okay. And so don't be afraid to do something different when you know that you have some insight or wisdom, or the Holy Spirit is speaking to you about doing something different, and it looks way, way different from what everybody else is doing. It looks very strange, but do not be afraid to follow a different protocol for your life. It may very well be the very thing that will save your life. The second thing, health tip that I will not ignore, or that I implemented, is really trying to understand and make sure that I implement some form of exercising in my life. Now, as you get older, this is going to change, and it is important to let your body dictate what you can and cannot do. But this adage of not working out and not doing any weight-bearing exercises and things like that, I think that is going to be a recipe for failure. Just as well, I think this extreme training, it's the hybrid athlete phase is on, but I don't understand how someone can honestly say putting 70, 80, 90 miles on their joints a week is something long-term. It's going to be something that's going to be positive, and it's going to be a good end result for them. So what I did when I was younger and what I do today is different. And sometimes it's hard to let your mind doesn't say, well, I need to change. And sometimes we can get into a rut, meaning the way that I trained, I've always loved to lift weights. I always will have a cardiovascular workout in my programming and things of that nature. But the way I train has to be different, because my body needs something different now. Or I would say at one particular time, I thought that going to the gym 7 days a week was the thing to do. But now my body's saying that may be way too much, and recovery needs to be a large part of now my training. Working on my mobility and flexibility has to be a large part of my training. But weight-bearing exercises, lifting weights, cardiovascular work will always be a part of my life, but there are other things I have to add in now because my body needs something different. I think it's a huge mistake for people who don't do some form of weight bearing exercises. Whether it's 1 day a week or 2 days a week or 3 days a week, whatever that is for you, you need to find that place. But I think for women, if you look at what some women, when they get older, they start, they fall in and breaking a hip, or they start having curvature in their spines, their bones become brittle because they haven't strengthened those bones. And the way that you strengthen your bones is weight bearing. One of the ways is weight bearing exercises. So that is one of the health tips that I can give you. Finding out your particular plan for you, understand that it may look different from somebody else. The second one is weight bearing exercises. And the third one is this, your diet. It's not about being on a diet, but really understanding the foods that really work well with your body. There is some things I can never eat again. There are some things that if I would eat it right now, by the end of today, if not sooner, I will be in the hospital, okay? And so being healthy is not necessarily about eating clean. There are a lot of healthy foods that I can't eat, right? And so that goes back to the first tip that I gave you. Understand sometimes you're gonna have a specific protocol that looks way different from everybody else. I have eaten a plant-based diet for years. I'm not vegan. I do not do it because of veganism or because of you want to be more humane and all this other kind of stuff like that. This is, I believe, for me, this is one of the other restraints that was given or placed on me. And so I cannot eat meat. If I eat meat, again, like I said, I'm going to have a reaction, and it will more than likely lead me into having to go to the hospital. And so after a period of time, you just stop banging your head against the wall and you do what's best for you. Do I think a plant-based diet for everyone is the best choice? No, I don't, because there's a lot of things that you give up, but there's a lot of things that you have to replace when you eat a plant-based diet, okay? So I'm not saying what works for me will work for you, but what I'm saying is one of the ways that you can improve your health is understanding what foods work for you. What is the dietary restraints, or what are those limitations that you may have within your diet? What are the foods that you're consuming that's not making you feel well? What are the foods that you're consuming that's making you feel bloated all the time? Ask yourself these questions. We have to get out of this idea that we're gonna be like everybody else and we have to do things like everybody else is doing it. We have to work out like the Instagrammers or the influencer are doing. We have to eat the way everybody else say that we should eat. We have to dress the way that everybody else say that we should dress. We have to understand that even though we are made in God's image and likeness, we are so different. That 0.1% of that DNA, most of us, 99% of our DNA is very similar. But that 0.1% makes a huge difference on how you operate and how I operate. And we have to honor that. We have to respect that. So if you're struggling right now and trying to figure out what are some of the ways that you can better take care of your health, what are some of the things that you can do to improve, maybe these 3 tips can help you. Maybe these things, understand that you need a personal plan. Number 2, exercise is important. You just have to find out what that is for you. And 2, what are your dietary restrictions or limitations? What are those things that make you feel good? What are those things that make you feel bad? And those things that make you feel bad or make you look bad, pull those things out of your diet. To hear about your health tips and your wellness journey below, make sure you comment, subscribe, and like and share if you think someone else can benefit from this video. I look forward to talking to you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.